Werewolves, vampires, and mummies. It's great to be here down in Sin City and working with the grown-up section for a change. Yours truly, Bob Zombi here, ready to bring you cheer and joy tonight. Do you know the difference between your job and a dead prostitute? At least your job still sucks. Hey, did you hear the one about my dick? It's too long for you. Speaking of dicks, you know I'm naked from the waist down? You ever notice when you go to a funeral home and they're in the coffin, you don't see them, they get that cover down? Because they're naked from they don't dress dead people. I put pants on the other day and it was too confining. So I'm naked from the waist down. Hey, eyes, up. Right here, ma'am, right here. You don't need to be looking at me. No, sir. Hey, what's got 2 legs and bleeds? Half a dog. So, what does a 75-year-old woman have between her breasts that a 25-year woman doesn't? That's right, her navel. Hey, do you know the difference between Jell-O and a dead hooker? Jell-O wiggles when it's eaten. Hey, did you hear the one about the hooker who had her appendix out? She now does her business on the side. It's great being here in Las Vegas. Prostitution's legal. Just the other day, I just had this need to get laid, but I only had $5 in my pocket, so I go to this whorehouse. And they say, well, we really don't have anything. $5 isn't gonna... I said, listen, lady, I gotta clean the pipes. So they set me up with this old lady. I'm like, oh my God, but $5, I gotta get the juices running. So I'm there and I'm banging and I'm going. And finally it's getting a little smoother, a little moister. It's getting really, really, really good. Finally, I let my load out and things were great. So I sat down and I wanted to talk to the lady about it afterwards. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to her and I'm like, it was a little rough start, a little bit of friction, but after we got going, things were going pretty good. And then the lady says to me, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but after those blisters popped, it was smooth sailing. Hey, did you hear the one about my wife's pussy? Nah, you're not gonna get it anyways. What do you get when you cross a whore with an elephant? You'll get a prostitute who'll fuck for peanuts, but will remember you every time. Hey, do you know the difference between a lawyer and a prostitute? The prostitute stops fucking you after you're dead. Last night I went downtown and I came across these 2 prostitutes and they were talking about how rough times were. The redhead said, times are just so bad, it cost me $5 to get home with the taxi last night. And the brunette then turned around and looked at her and said, hey, babe, I know what you're talking about. I gave a blowjob last night just so I could get something warm in my stomach. Oh. Then just down the street the other night, there was a hooker who walked into the Salvation Army and mistook it for an army post. When she walks in, the gentleman behind the counter says, ma'am, are you familiar with Original Sin? Which she replied to, hey buddy, if it's really original, it's going to cost you an extra $20. other night had gone home with this hooker. And as I'm walking into her place or walking down the hall, she's got these pictures of these dicks just lying right up down the hallway. Christ, I stopped and I looked down and I'm like, mine's only half the size. Well, she turned around to me and she goes, listen, I need to go and make myself horny and get ready. Why don't you head on into the room? So when she did that, I ran into the kitchen. I grabbed a cucumber. We get in the bed. We get a little armrest. I start using the cucumber on her. At which she replied, I love to be fingered before bed. You guys heard about the penguin? You know, I was over at the ranch the other night, and all I had was $5 with me. So I said, hey, what can I get for $5? And the madam behind the counter, she goes, I can give you a penguin. I'm like, hey, what the hell's a penguin? She goes, give me the $5 and I'll let you know what a penguin is. So I give her the $5. She takes me behind the counter, scoots my pants down around my knees, and starts giving me the best damn Hummer I've had in I don't know how long. I'm building, I'm about ready to explode. She stops and walks away. She goes, that's a penguin. As I'm waddling back after her. This cowboy came into town. He'd been on the range for a while. Gets into town, he says, I need to get laid. So he goes to the local whorehouse. He goes, I need to get laid. She goes, well, there's Myrtle upstairs. She'll give you a blowjob to suck your underwear right through your ass. $250. He goes, well, I don't have that type of money. Well, then he says, well, then we got Nasty Nancy. Give you a blowjob till morning. He says, $50. Well, I don't have that type of money. He goes, what do you think? He goes, well, for 25 cents, you can go have Margaret. She's upstairs, room 22. Oh, digs around in his pocket. He pulls out a quarter, gives it to her. Goes upstairs. It's dark. Gets on top. He feels her. Slides inside. He's going to town. He's going to town. Going to town. Well, after about 10 minutes, she turns her head and throws this white stuff up through her mouth. Well, he goes running downstairs, explains this to the madam, who turns around. She goes, hey, Bill, the dead one in 22's full. Hey, what does a prostitute have at the end of her shift? A box of assorted creams. You know, you think your life is bad. You know the definition of a complete and utter failure? Yeah, that's right. A pregnant whore. Oh. Hey, do you know the difference between a prostitute and a drug dealer? The prostitute can wash her crack and sell it again. I love it here in Sin City. Did you hear about the prostitute who got into bondage? Yeah, she was strapped for cash. Hey, do you know how to make a whorebone? Don't pay her. The other night, prostitute ended her shift, took a taxi, was heading home. She got to her destination, went through her purse, found out she didn't have any money. So she turns to the cab driver, lifts up her skirt, shows her little meow, and says, you can take it out of this. At which the cabbie replied, you don't happen to have anything smaller, do you? This morning I was down at the casino, went into the bar, and there were these two hookers sitting there. And they were talking back and forth. I overheard the conversation. First hooker says to the second hooker, last night was wonderful. Made $5,000, and I feel like a bottle of champagne. Second hooker says to the first hooker in her response, Yeah, last night was a good night too. I made $5,000. I feel like a pot of glue. Oh. The other day, this guy walks into this whorehouse. He says, "Give me the biggest black woman you got." And the woman behind the counter, she goes, "Well, that would be Miss Lulu." She said, "Go on upstairs, room 24. So goes upstairs. There's this big-ass black woman sitting there. I mean, she's huge. Goes up to her and says, "All right, lady, I want you to sit right there. I want to stand in front of you. I want you to spread your legs. Open them legs right up as wide as you can." Gets down there and he starts looking and he's peering. He goes, "Thank you." She goes, "Hey, is that all you want?" He said, "Yeah, I'm painting my house black. I want to see what it looked like with pink shutters." Hey, do you know what a stoner and a necrophiliac have in common? That's right, they both like to eat cold tacos. Hey, what do you call a Russian prostitute? Slobber down my cock, you bitch.